Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana. Thank you for joining us on this fine Saturday morning. This is Dr. Kevin. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Bryant Wellness Institutes. We're Louisiana's most advanced functional medicine institute, and that means that we use the latest technologies available to treat today's most complex health problems without drugs and without surgery. And for those of you that are just tuning in for the first time, welcome to the show. This is the show that's designed to change your health and to change your future. And we have a motto that's very important to us at Bryant Wellness, and that motto is to listen with concern and treat with compassion. And I think that's something that we could use a lot more of in healthcare is, just listening with concern and treating people with compassion. So thank you for joining us. I'm here with my co-host, Brandon Como. Brandon, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well, Doc. How about yourself?
Oh, I'm doing good. And for those of you just tuning in that don't know Brandon, if you listen to the station, you should. He has his own show on weekdays at 4 called Offsides with Shannon Wilkerson. It's a great show. It's one of my favorite on KPEL, other than this one, of course.
I got to say, one of my favorite shows that we did was when we had you on with us, when we were talking about the problem that persists with these kids being over-medicated, and comparing that with all the shootings, the mass shootings that we've had over the years. As a matter of fact, that was a show that we really, really enjoyed, because with you being on the show with us, it gave us an opportunity to present or to discuss a topic that really you weren't getting that discussion anywhere else.
Yeah, and nobody's talking about that.
Yeah, so we really appreciated you coming on, and we look forward to having you on in the future for more topics, man.
Oh, I'd love to, man. I'm excited. I love coming on. You guys are great over there. And what we had talked about last week, last week we went over thyroid disorders, and I got such an amazing response of people with questions and concerns and personal stories that I wanted to bring out a little bit different aspects of thyroid issues today and kind of go back over some things that people weren't exactly clear on from last week and discuss thyroid in a little bit more in depth. And, the definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result. And if you want better health, you have to take action and do something different than what you are currently doing. And that's what today's show is about. This is the show that's going to show you the actions that you can take that you're not currently doing in order to get a better result. So if you know someone that has thyroid problems, make sure you call or text them right now and tell them to tune into the show. And what you're going to learn today is that the other thing, you might not even know you have a thyroid problem. The vast majority of thyroid problems that we find, the patient doesn't even know it. And I found one just the other day. A person came in for, fatigue and low energy, and come to find out they have thyroid issues. And not only that, but they had autoimmune thyroid issues, which is, a very concerning thing. And so, this person was really in serious shape and didn't have any idea. And many times that's what we find. Now, the other thing that we see is people are told that their thyroid is fine, and that may not actually be the case as well. Thyroid and hormones are the number one request that I get for information. And so I have some exciting new information to share with you today about thyroid research. And so many people have a misunderstanding about how the thyroid works and what it's even designed to do. And so there are literally thousands of you out there that have been to the doctor, and your doctor told your thyroid was not working and put you on medication. And there's so much more to it than that. Patients sort of think, well, yeah, my thyroid quit working, so I take the Synthroid and I'm good. My numbers look okay, and I still don't feel great, but that's the best we can do. Everything's fine. Everything is not fine. We have to find out why your thyroid quit working, because it very well may be affecting other parts of your body as well. Last week I told you the story about a lady that came into my office, and she came into me for low energy and fatigue, and she was also having difficulty losing weight. She was putting on that 10 pounds every year and just could not stop it no matter what she did. So she went to her doctor, and she had her thyroid hormone checked, and it was high, so indicating that her thyroid wasn't working. So she was given a prescription for Synthroid, and that was it. Case closed. And so she thought she had a simple thyroid problem, and like most, she thought it had been fixed by her medication, but she still didn't feel great. And so I asked her some more questions, and we did a little bit more digging. And I said, did they try to find out why the thyroid wasn't working? And she said, no, they didn't. And did they do any further testing to find out, if there's maybe something causing this underneath the surface? Nope. They didn't do any of that. Did they check for thyroid cancer? Nope. He just said it wasn't working and gave me this medication. But, I still just don't feel right. So we decided to check her appropriately and found out that she actually has double Hashimoto's autoimmune thyroid disease. That means that her thyroid is being killed by her immune system. And worse than that, it's attacking it in both ways that it can and making it double Hashimoto's disease, not just one. So there's two different ways that the immune system can attack the thyroid, and she had both. Now, that was crucial information because, first of all, that's not even a thyroid problem. That's an immune system problem. Her immune system is attacking her thyroid, and so she's autoimmune. She's an autoimmune patient. And worse than that, the second way that it attacks the thyroid is the kind that new research proves that can lead to thyroid cancer, and if it's not corrected. So what a really shallow evaluation. And, her blood work showed low thyroid, take Synthroid, that's it, have a good day. And this same story plays out thousands of times over and over again in traditional American healthcare. And this lady's in serious trouble and had no idea. Guys, it's not good enough just to look at one factor, take 3 minutes, put the patient on something and call it a day, especially if it's an autoimmune problem like Hashimoto's, where the body's own immune system has decided to attack and kill the thyroid gland. Because, 50% of the time, patients with an autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's, where it attacks the thyroid, their immune system, about half the time, has already decided to attack other tissue in the body that you're not even aware of. So next they end up with lupus or rheumatoid arthritis, or even worse, something like MS or one of these other really severe autoimmune disorders. So it's not really good enough just to say low thyroid hormone, let's fill that in. We need to find out what has caused that, because whatever is causing it has never been fixed or addressed, and that's not okay. Guys, your thyroid doesn't just sort of go on vacation and quit working. Your organs don't just go on strike one day and decide they're going to quit for no reason. If you have something so significant that your organ has stopped working, wouldn't you want to know where that's coming from? You have an organ that has shut down. That should be a wake-up call. And I don't know what it is, but it's so common that patients don't see that as a big deal. You have an organ that has just shut down. And so not to do any further digging to see where that's coming from, it really needs to be reevaluated. That needs to be looked at, because when an organ has gone so far that it has shut down, that it has stopped working, that should concern you. And you should want to dig a little bit deeper to find out why that is. And so we're going to get into all the details on thyroid problems and why that happens. And like I said, if you're listening to the show and you know someone with thyroid problems, you're going to want to call or shoot them a text and tell them to tune into the show. And also, I'm going to be hosting a workshop on natural solutions to thyroid disorders. It's going to be March the 21st at 6:30 p.m. You can call and register, and you can call my office at 837-7174 for locations and more information and to see if we have any seats left. And we do have limited seating, and this one's going to fill up quickly. So, I wanted to tell you early in the show, we're going to be talking about the workshop later. But, if you're interested in coming, you want to call. It's 837-7174, or you can even just text the word body to 77453. But if you have thyroid problems of any kind, you should come and hear about this new information and new technologies. And it's very important that we address the thyroid, because other things could be taking place in your body that you're going to want to know about, just like this lady I was telling you about. And, here's the other thing to consider. You may have been told your thyroid was okay and that's not what's causing your health problems, but many times we found that that's actually not the problem all along. You know, Brandon, I had a patient just this week. He was telling me we went to the doctor, and you know they ran the routine blood work, and you know the doctor looked at the blood work and said, "Okay, you're fine." And he said, "Doc, but I still don't feel good." And he looked back down at the blood work and goes, "Nope, you're good to go." So he said he literally put his hand over the blood work, covered it up, and said, "No, Doc, I still don't feel good." Said his doctor literally looked around his hand, looked at the blood work, and said, "No, you're fine," and walked out.
Oh, man.
And you know, so we have a saying: treat the patient, not the paper. I'll give you a perfect example. One of the things we do is we balance a patient's pH, you know, their body's acid level. And we started with a product a long time ago that I could literally balance someone's pH overnight. I could give them this product and they could go like from a 5 pH scale on their urinalysis up to like a 7, which is amazing. Come to find out, all we were doing was just alkalizing the urine. It wasn't alkalizing their body at all. And so that's another example of I can make your lab work look pretty, but if I'm not actually treating the patient and not the paper, so now we switch to another product, of course, but you know, you have to treat the patient and not just make the lab work look pretty, because if you think you can boil the human body down to a piece of paper, it's way more complicated than that. You know, you can't take, in American healthcare, you can't take the entire gamut of things that could go wrong in the human body and boil it down to a few numbers on a paper and figure it out. It's so much more complicated than that. Now, here's the other thing to consider. Sometimes patients may have something called subclinical thyroid disorder, which means that it didn't fall outside of the huge normal ranges they use for normal numbers on lab work, but that doesn't mean it can't still make you feel bad. But those numbers are very unrealistic they use for thyroid, and we find that many times patients have subclinical thyroid problems, and symptoms of subclinical thyroid are low energy, especially if you wake up tired even after you've slept adequately, or things like mood changes like depression and anxiety, great difficulty losing weight or gaining weight, you know, that plus 10 pounds every year that you just can't shake. And all of this could actually be thyroid related. Even things like digestive issues and dry skin and brittle nails. So what happens, you go to the doctor and he does some blood work and he looks at your TSH levels. Now, they consider normal TSH levels from 0.3 all the way up to 5.6 as normal thyroid levels. But you can feel terrible at 0.3 or 0.4 or 0.5. But if you fell within that range, then you don't have quote unquote thyroid problems, you know, according to the books. So if you're 0.30, you're fine, you have no issues. But if you're 0.29, now you have disease and you should have symptoms. That doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't think it really makes any sense to you guys either whatsoever. You can feel terrible at 0.3 or 0.4 or 0.5. So what we're doing is not enough for these patients because folks are suffering needlessly with all sorts of thyroid problems that are being missed and underutilized and undertreated. And so we have some new ideas about thyroid disorders that the public needs to know about, because there are 30 million people in America that suffer with thyroid problems, and roughly half of those don't even know it or have been misdiagnosed. And, you know, they just know they don't feel like themselves, or maybe they're tired, or they wake up and feel like they could go right back to bed, or, you know, maybe they blame it on old age. But the truth is, you don't have to live that way. Your thyroid could be involved in the way that you feel. And the thyroid is involved in all metabolic processes, meaning that how you feel, how much energy you have, what your weight is, you know, what your mood is. The thyroid is involved in all metabolic processes. And so it's also one of the biggest causes of brain fog. And so whenever you're talking to a patient that more than likely has thyroid problems, you know, they'll tell you, my brain is just not sharp. I just have this brain fog all the time. And so we don't rule out thyroid out of our wellness program until we've checked all the available thyroid markers and have proven that they're within normal working limits and not these huge, ridiculous ranges from 0.3 to 5.6 that, only about, and that's only one of about 12 things anyway that we look at whenever it comes to thyroid. Just looking at one of the 12 markers for thyroid and having a huge range for that causes a lot of things to be missed. So we're going to get into all of that today on the show, all the different parameters to look at of the thyroid and what it does and what you should do about it and what you should know about the thyroid and how it affects you. After the break, I'm going to explain to you the way your thyroid actually works and what it does and what you should look for and what the actual parameters are that we use to determine whether your thyroid is working or not. And I'll tell you all the important numbers that you should actually look for. And if you want to know more information about this, you can come to our 4 Secrets to a Healthy Thyroid workshop. You can call my office at 837-7174. Leave your name and number on my machine. Obviously, I'm not there today. It's going to be March the 21st at 6:30 p.m. And so you can call 837-7174 to register, or you can simply text the word BODY to 77453. That's BODY to 77453. And if you have any of these thyroid symptoms, you should come. Low energy, weight gain, brain fog, any of those things, you're going to want to come figure out what is actually going wrong in your body. Now, if you're in the New Iberia area, their number is 367-2567. And I'm going to even tell you about a simple home test that you can use to track how your thyroid is progressing using a thermometer every morning called basal body temperature. The number is 837-7174. Just leave your number and we'll call you back Monday. You're listening to Get Well Acadiana. I'm Dr. Kevin. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. Our goal of today's show is to try to help some of the 30 million Americans out there suffering from thyroid disorders. And half of those 30 million don't even realize that their thyroid is responsible for how bad they feel. So many of you out there listening may not be feeling yourself because your thyroid is not working correctly, and either you didn't know or you were told it was okay. But even if you were told your thyroid is fine, you may still have subclinical thyroid problems causing you to feel bad. You may have low energy or brain fog or mood and emotional problems or chronic fatigue or sleep problems. And the thyroid is so important to everything else in your body. It controls it's associated with every metabolic function, that it's critical that we take good care of it and figure out the whole story when something goes wrong. Now, the number one question that I get all the time is, why did my thyroid quit working in the first place? Now, this is the question that we should be asking. This is the question that gets brushed over and swept under the rug. And as well, sometimes these things just happen, or, we don't know, or, sometimes it's genetic. I don't think any of that really makes sense to any of you. And I know it doesn't make sense to me. If something happens in your body so severe that an organ quits working, that means something pretty significant is going wrong and something is causing that. You have an organ that has shut down. And it always surprises me how nonchalantly patients talk about having an organ that's not working. I mean, if that were the brakes on your car, you would never have that. You wouldn't say, well, the brakes on my car, they quit working, but it's only a couple of days a week. I never know when it is. I drive it to work one day, my brakes quit, and then the next day it's fine. It's not a big deal. People would never do that. But whenever it comes to something so significant as an organ shutting down, they just don't really think about it. And the question is, why has my organs stopped working, and is there anything I can do to make it work better? And that's where the real solution lies. If we can't figure out why it's happened, then we're never going to even get in the ballpark of figuring out ways that we can improve it. But once we find out why the cells have stopped doing what they're supposed to do, then we can begin to ask the question, is there anything we can do to positively affect those cells to make them start, to work more effectively or to work better? And as far as the genetic thing goes, I don't really buy that. If it were genetic, you would have been born with it. if you got thyroid because mom had thyroid problems, why did you get it at 40 and not 20? Or why did you get it at 30 and not, 25? And so you didn't get it until a certain age, and genetics can't cause that. Genetic problems you're born with. So we're going to go over a few of the reasons we look for to see if we can figure out some of the underlying reasons of why the thyroid is malfunctioning. And truthfully, it's almost always a combination of these things. We almost never find it's one reason why the body has shut down. It's always a multiple reasons, all sort of stacked up to cause someone to lose their health. And, I compare it all the time on the show to an airplane crash. One system can't fail and an airplane goes down. You've got backup systems. And so in order for a big airliner to crash, you have to have a system fail, the backup system fail, the person watching it failed. And so 3 or 4 things have to stack up. And if it does, then the airplane goes down. And that's kind of how our body works. One thing by itself is not bad enough to make your organs shut down. But when you stack up 3 or 4 of all of these reasons all on top of one another, now it crosses the threshold to where you end up with an organ that has shut down. But there are several reasons why the thyroid may have actually stopped working. So I wanted to just cover a few of them. And one of the big ones is heavy metals. You have iodine receptors on your thyroid cells that are able to bring iodine inside your cell for use. Your thyroid hormone has to have iodine in order to make thyroid hormone. And sometimes heavy metals can block these receptor sites, making your thyroid unable to bring iodine inside the cell to be used at the rate at which it needs to make usable thyroid hormone. Now, heavy metals are things like lead, mercury, cadmium, arsenic. And if we can get rid of those heavy metals, many times the thyroid can start bringing iodine in at a more effective rate. And if you don't think you have heavy metals, you really need to take a look at it. I've had 2 patients in the last 3 months that their mercury in their blood was so high that the lab who tested it, when I did their blood work and I sent it off, the lab was legally obligated to report that level to the Louisiana State Health Department, and the health department sent in an investigator in to determine where this mercury was coming from. Like, they were worried there was a mercury leak at some business, or, maybe this person was being poisoned or something. Like, it was a huge deal. That's how high their mercury was. And did you know they had no idea their mercury was 5-6 times normal? And both of them had thyroid problems. And so heavy metals have the ability to clog the receptor sites on the thyroid that brings iodine into the thyroid for you to be able to make thyroid hormone. So we have to check for that. Environmental chemicals are another really big reason the thyroid stops working. The 2 really bad industrial chemicals that we get exposed to are phthalates and BPAs. These are chemicals proven to cause thyroid malfunction. And so these 2 chemicals we see very prominently in the American diet. The average American eats 14 pounds of these industrial chemicals, pesticides, and preservatives every year. And these chemicals can disrupt normal thyroid function. We have to look and see if they're present. And if they are, we have to get them out. So if we test and find these chemicals, we can detoxify them out of the body. And many times that will make those cells start to work a little bit better if they're not dealing with these thyroid disrupting hormones that are in these chemicals. We check enzymes as well. There are 2 enzymes that are involved in converting the raw materials through the assembly line and into usable hormone, thyroid hormone in the body. Now, these 2 enzymes are critical in the assembly of making thyroid. So, as a matter of fact, these are the 2 enzymes that can be attacked by the immune system in Hashimoto's, in autoimmune disorders. So what happens, the immune system attacks and kills those 2 critical enzymes that it needs in order for you to make thyroid hormone. So if the immune system is killing these enzymes, we have to figure out why that is. And number 1, and number 2, we can add more enzymes into the body, which will help take up some of the ones that are being killed. So most people that we check, though, are really low on enzymes. And we have a supplement that's a massive variety of enzymes that we can give the body to kind of help kick things in and start working. much, much better. So let me really quickly run through the sequencing of events that your thyroid goes through in order to make usable thyroid hormones. And I think that this will all make a little bit more sense. Now, your body uses raw materials to make thyroid hormone, just like you need raw materials to build a house. You need bricks and mortar and cement and wood. Your body needs the raw materials to make thyroid hormone. One of those raw materials is called tyrosine, and the other one is iodine. Now, there is a TPO enzyme that joins 4 of those iodines with tyrosine to make T4. T4 is thyroid hormone, but it's completely unusable by your body. It's inert. Your body cannot use it. But what happens, though, is then this T4, this unusable thyroid hormone, is shuttled to the liver and stomach by another enzyme called TBG, where one of those iodines is removed to make T3. T3 is usable thyroid hormone in your body. So this is like an assembly line. TPO grabs a tyrosine and 4 iodines, puts them together. TBG shuttles it to the liver and stomach, where it's converted into T3. T3 is the usable form of thyroid hormone in your body. And for your body, T3 is what runs your metabolism by converting food into energy. So thyroid hormone at its very end stage is what converts your food that you ate into usable energy for your body. Kind of like your engine converts the gasoline that you paid for into moving forward in your car. So that's kind of the way thyroid hormone works. Now, I didn't go through all of that to be confusing. And at my workshop, I'm actually going to draw this whole assembly line out on a graph. And you'll be able to fully understand each little step along the way that your body goes through to end up with usable, functioning thyroid hormone in your body. And you have to have, number one, the raw materials present. First of all, you have to have iodine, you have to have tyrosine. And if you have an iodine deficiency, you don't have the available raw materials to make thyroid hormone. Some studies shows that iodine levels have declined 50% over the last 30 years, and 1/3 of the world's population now lives in iodine deficient areas. And then to add to the iodine problem, iodine is in a group of molecules called halogens, meaning they're in the same family as chlorine and fluoride. But iodine is the weakest of these 3, meaning that iodine can be bullied out of place by chlorine and fluoride. So when you add up all the chlorine and fluoride that we dump in our water systems and put in our toothpaste, it's no wonder that iodine is being bullied out of place and these other halogen molecules are taking its place because they're stronger and they're more they have a stronger bond. So iodine is the weaker, and iodine is being bullied out of place because we have so much chlorine and fluoride in our bodies these days from what we put in our water systems. All of this has to be looked at if you're not making thyroid hormone. In autoimmune disease, these 2 enzymes that we talked about are being attacked by your immune system, and you don't make thyroid hormone. The lady that I mentioned in the first segment, we found both of her enzymes, the one that makes tyrosine join with iodines and the one that shuttles it to the liver and stomach, both were being killed by her immune system. And she was just told, your thyroid's low, take this medicine and we're going to get your numbers back straight. But remember, T3 is also made in the liver and stomach. If your liver and stomach are so unhealthy that it can't make the conversion to usable thyroid hormone, your numbers will look fantastic on paper once again, but you're still going to feel terrible. So if your liver and stomach can't convert to T3, then you're gonna look great on paper. Your lab work's going to be pretty, but you very well still may feel bad. Our thyroid panel is about 12 different markers, and I can tell you exactly where along this assembly line the body is breaking down. And then and only then can we begin to ask the question, is there anything I can do to make that area start to work better? So I'm hosting a free community workshop on this where I can go into all the possible solutions and figure out exactly what's causing your body to malfunction. It's going to be March the 21st at 6:30 p.m. It could be just 1 hour out of your life to possibly learn the solutions that could change your whole future. If you have thyroid issues of any kind, or even low energy, brain fog, weight loss, or weight gain, any of those things, you're going to want to come check this seminar out. And you can register by calling 837-7174. That's 837-7174. Obviously, we're not in the office today. Just leave your name and number on the machine, and the girls will give you a call back Monday to reserve your spot. So it's 837-7174, or you can text the word BODY to 77453. And your number will pop right up on my computer, and I'll give you a call Monday. So it's BODY to 77453, or in New Iberia, their number is 367-2567. Stay tuned. We got a lot more right after this break. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Bryant Wellness Institutes, and today we're discussing some advancements in new ways to look at thyroid disorders. You know, it's high time, because traditional treatment for thyroid hasn't changed since 1962. That's the days of black and white televisions and cars with no air conditioners. So I hope I didn't get too deep in the woods in that last segment with all of the little different steps that your body goes through to make thyroid hormone. At the workshop, I'm going to actually draw all that out. It works way better when I have my charts and graphs in front of me. Graphs don't work well on the radio. So if you come to the workshop, I'm going to draw this whole assembly line out and show you what could go wrong with each one of these steps of the assembly line. And it's a tough thing to explain on the radio, but I felt like I needed to make the point, because that there's so many steps that your body has to go through to end up with usable thyroid hormone, that you can't just look at 1/10 of the system and call it a day. If one little step goes wrong in the assembly line process, you don't make thyroid. Each little step has to go just right. And there's a lot of things that could go wrong along this assembly line. And that's how we look at it. It's an assembly line process that takes place to get usable thyroid. And it is critical that you look at the functioning of the body at each one of those steps along the way. Otherwise, you're not even going to be in the ballpark of trying to figure this thing out of what's actually going wrong in the body. But you know, the vast majority of problems we see with thyroid deals with autoimmune. The majority of thyroid problems are from Hashimoto's autoimmune, meaning that the body's immune system has decided to attack and kill those two enzymes that we've been talking about that you need to make thyroid hormone. And, you know, I was telling you a story of the lady that I talked to just last week that had no idea her thyroid problem was from autoimmune. They never checked. So in functional medicine, in our type of program, the goal is to find out where the body is breaking down and target that. And each one of these tests becomes very important with our type of care. We want to know, is there an iodine shortage? Are the iodine receptors blocked with heavy metals? Is the enzymes that make T4 being attacked? Is the enzyme that shuttles T4 to the liver being attacked? Is the liver and stomach not able to convert to T3? Is the pituitary unhealthy? You know, I could go on and on of each thing that we ask, but you got to know all of this. And to be honest with you, there's a few places in this assembly line that usually breaks down. It's not usually just one, but we have to know where to target. And we continually ask ourselves in our program this question, and I talk about this all the time. This is sort of our overarching question with everything we do. Why are the cells doing what they're doing, and how can we make those cells behave differently? Because you got to understand, a cell's job is to do something. Cells are designed to perform a genetically programmed function. A muscle cell contracts, a nerve cell transmits, a skin cell protects, a stomach cell produces acid, a colon cell absorbs, and a thyroid cell makes thyroid hormone. Your body's structure should do its job. It's genetically programmed to do so. And when it's not performing that function, there has to be a reason. So we constantly ask ourselves, why are these cells behaving this way? And how can we get the cells to behave differently? Now, in Hashimoto's disease, what that means is that the body's immune system is killing the part of the assembly line process so you don't end up with usable thyroid hormone. And remember, one of them was TPO, which joins tyrosine with iodines, and the other one was TBG, which shuttles T4 to the stomach and liver to convert it to T3. Now, in Hashimoto's disease, your immune system has decided to attack one or both of those enzymes as if it's not supposed to be there. It's just decided to go kill them. So an autoimmune disease means that your immune system is attacking and killing itself. This is like termites in your house, just destroying your walls from the inside out. And here's the thing. Know that if you have an active autoimmune disease, your body is damaging itself from the inside out. There is damage being done to the inside of your body by your own immune system. Your body is turning against itself, and that's something that should concern you a whole lot. Now, here's the thing. This is not just a thyroid problem. This is also an immune system problem. So your thyroid is like the victim. It's like in a crime. Like if somebody mugs you and takes your money, that's not your fault. That's the criminal's fault. In Hashimoto's disease, it's not the thyroid's fault. The thyroid is being attacked. So to say that Hashimoto's disease is a thyroid problem is not actually true. It's an immune system problem. Hashimoto's disease is an autoimmune disease. So if your immune system is attacking and killing your thyroid so that your body can't make thyroid hormone and you just supplement it with medicine, you really haven't fixed anything at all. In fact, you hadn't even addressed the immune system that's sitting there killing its own body. And because remember, 50% of the time, the immune system will turn and attack something else before it's all said and done. So you end up with 2 autoimmune disorders. Once your immune system gets so out of control that it starts killing itself, you're in real trouble because next it's going to just start, it could just get madder and madder and start killing and killing and killing. And pretty soon it turns to the joints and rheumatoid or the nerves and MS or maybe the connective tissue and lupus. But once your immune system gets so mad that it's just decided to kill itself, it is not a road that you want to go down. And I had a patient just this week that we found he was there for a low energy, and he had no idea he even had a thyroid problem. He came in to see if I could improve his energy, and come to find out he has Hashimoto's disease, autoimmune thyroid. So it's just not good enough what we're doing. Now, the other medical treatment for autoimmune disease is they're just going to give you immunosuppressant drugs, which means these are the drugs that they give people for organ transplants to keep their body from rejecting that organ. And of course, it's necessary in that case. But in autoimmune, if you suppress your immune system, that's not always a good idea because you need your immune system. Your immune system is what keeps you from dying from things like the common cold. So that's why people that take these immunosuppressant drugs have a higher chance of dying from something like pneumonia or the flu. So the way we tackle this problem is we have to find out what is making the immune system so mad that it's decided to kill and kill and kill until it starts killing its own body. What is making the immune system so irritated, and then see if we can get that out. So at the workshop, I'm going to go through each of these. We have about 6 possibilities that we look at to see what could be making the immune system so mad that it's turned autoimmune. And we're going to go through all 6 of those possibilities at the workshop, and I'll be able to determine which one of these things may actually be causing your autoimmune problem. But the bottom line of this is all of these things need to be looked at if you're going to have long-term health. We have to see what can happen down the road in order to try to get you healthy. We have to ask, how are you going to be doing in 5 years from now or 10 years from now? And, that's something that we never talk about. How am I going to be, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road? And I think that really needs to be reevaluated. People are just so busy that they just don't worry about the future with their health. It's just all about get me fixed, get me patched up now, and I got to get back to work. And we really need to take a second look at that because you have to understand one person that's 70 years old and gardening and having the time of their life versus one person that's 70 and in a nursing facility or a wheelchair. They're the same age, but at some point in their life, their health took a very different path. But it didn't take that at 70 or even 60 or, maybe even 55. It was decades before one of them did something to improve their health and the other one didn't. So if you want to know more about this thyroid issue, you can call and register for my free community workshop. It's going to be March the 21st at 6:30 p.m. at the Hampton Inn in Broussard. The phone number is 7174. That's 837-7174 to register, or you can simply text the word body to 77453. That's BODY to 77453. And in New Iberia, it's 367-2567. This is Dr. Kevin. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Well Acadiana with Dr. Kevin. I hope that you've enjoyed the show today, but more importantly than that, I hope you've understood how important it is to do everything you can to solve your health problems once and for all. And I hope that I've been able to encourage all of you to do things that are going to allow you to be healthy and functional for years in the future. We've touched on a few of the main points today on thyroid and how important that is in the functioning of almost your entire body. People really don't understand how important the thyroid hormone is in how you feel and how you sleep and how healthy your weight is. And, lots of things. The thyroid it affects almost every other part of your body. And most patients don't understand that. I told you earlier about my patient that came in last week and was on medication and ended up having double Hashimoto's thyroid disease. And research proves that one of those types, that TBG form of Hashimoto's can turn into thyroid cancer if not found in time. And we found it. No one else did. We may have really saved her a heap of trouble down the road just because we're willing to take the time to dig into these things to see what is actually happening in the body. Why are these cells doing what they're doing, and how can we make those cells function better? And your thyroid is so critical to every other function in your body. Did you know that every single cell in your body has thyroid receptors on it? Every cell. Thyroid hormone is what allows your cells to convert food into energy. Just like your car converts gasoline into energy, thyroid hormone allows your body to convert the food that you eat into usable energy to run your body. And that's why it can affect so many different things. Now, at my workshop, I'm going to go through each step of the process. I'll show you things to look for to figure out where along the assembly line your body is breaking down. And that's the way we look at it. This is like an assembly line. It goes from iodine to tyrosine to TPO to the TPO enzyme to T4 to TBG enzyme to T3, which is usable thyroid hormone. It's like an assembly line to make a car. If I have an assembly line to make a car and one person puts the wheel on, one person puts the door on, one person puts the headlight in, and every time a car comes off the line, the door is messed up, I'm going to know where to go. I know where the problem is. I can go to the guy that makes the door and say, what are you doing? You need to step it up. And that's exactly how we look at with the thyroid, is this assembly line model. And it really works great doing it that way. But we're going to break down every step along the way, and we'll talk about all of the necessary testing with each one of these steps. And we're going to find out where the body is breaking down, and we can find out why the cells are doing what they're doing and what we can do to make them work better. And so if you're interested in coming to the workshop, I'm even going to show you a simple test at home using a thermometer where you can monitor your thyroid every morning using a simple thermometer. Really neat test. You don't have to rely on blood work. You can rely on something called basal body temperature. Now, there are several other things that we're going to talk about that you can do at home to get healthier, and we'll talk more about these steps, and we'll figure out where the body's breaking down. The workshop is going to be March the 21st at 6:30 p.m. at the Hampton Inn in Broussard. You can call and register right now to 837-7174. That's 837-7174, or text the word body to 77453. That's BODY to 77453. And in New Iberia, it's 367-2567. That concludes our series on thyroid issues today. We're going to be moving on next week. I hope you guys enjoyed this thyroid series. Thyroid is a really important issue. We need to take care of it. If you or somebody you know has thyroid problems, tell them about the workshop. It really could be a life changer. Make sure you guys call 837-7174 and leave your name on the machine. We'll get you registered. Thank you guys. We'll talk next week.